morning. Today is another one of our first fives. Today we're looking at this text from Mark chapter 2. So as I look at this text, there's kind of some background I think you probably need to know about me. I'm a firstborn. That means I kind of like rules. I like to know where I stand. I like to know if I did the right thing or if I did the wrong thing. Maybe you're kind of like that. What I find difficult about this text is Jesus taking what so many people thought were the right things and going, yeah, well, they're not bad things. Like, they're okay. But if your goal is keeping the rules, then you're kind of missing the point. And so here's what we find from Mark chapter 2, beginning with verse 18. Now John's disciples and the Pharisees were fasting. Some people came and asked Jesus, how is it that John's disciples and the disciples of the Pharisees are fasting, but yours aren't? Jesus answered, how can the guests of the bridegroom fast while he is with them? They cannot, so long as they have him with them. But the time will come when the bridegroom will be taken from them, and on that day they will fast. No one sews a patch of unshrunk cloth on an old garment. If he does, the new piece will pull away from the old, making the tear worse. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. If he does, the wine will burst, and the skins, both the wine and the wineskins, will be ruined. No, he pours new wine into new wineskins. Going on. One Sabbath, Jesus was going through the grain fields, and as his disciples walked along, they began to pick some heads of grain. The Pharisees said to them, look, why are they doing what is unlawful on the Sabbath? He answered, have you never read what David did when he and his companions were hungry and in need? In the days of Abiathar, the high priest, he entered the house of God and ate the consecrated bread, which is lawful only for priests to eat. And he also gave some to his companions. Then he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord, even of the Sabbath. Now this passage begins with fasting, and fasting in and of itself is a good thing in the right context. Fasting in scriptures is really always about entering into a relationship with God. But if it becomes a rule or a rigid thing or something in which it's not about the relationship, then it's something that Jesus says not really good, not really necessary, not really important. Going on, the next thing is, right, he uses this weird analogy that we don't necessarily love sometimes. He says, you don't pour new wine into old wineskins because it bursts. You do it new wine in new wineskins. And so sometimes we need to let go of some things in order for God to do the new thing in us. And then he goes on, he talks about the Sabbath, right? And I'm a big fan of the idea of Sabbath, that we're called to rest. You see, but what Jesus also wants us to know is Sabbath is less about the particular day and more about the particular state. In fact, what he's trying to say here is that your Sabbath is good, right? Sabbath is about resting in the presence of God and renewal. It's about recognizing we're not created to work 7 days a week. It's about recognizing that rest is a rhythm of God's invitation for us to live in full humanity as he's invited us to live. Yet, it's not another rule for us to follow. It's an invitation to a greater life. And so this line, I think, sometimes messes up. He said the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So what's he mean by that? So fasting, old things, new things, Sabbath, all good, all in the right place. But if we're not careful, things become rituals in our lives. Things become rules that we have to follow, and they miss the point in which they were created for. You see, fasting was always about entering into right relationship with God, recognize that he is our provider, recognize that he gives us, recognizing that when we hunger and we thirst and we long for something more, we go, God, help me to long for you in that way. May I be present with you. And Sabbath? So recognizing, man, I'm so tired. I've worked so hard. God, help me to rest in your presence, to enjoy what you have offered up to us. May I not try to work the whole time. May I rest in you. But if we're not careful, those things become to take on lives of their own. And what we see when that happens, our life gets disjointed and out of order. And it's not that we can live a life that's balanced, because I don't think balance exists. I really don't. Like if you work 40 hours a week, how are you going to balance? What do you balance it with sleep? I don't know. But what you can find is good rhythms of life. And these things often bring us good rhythms of life. But if we're not careful, they can get out of whack, and then our life comes out of order. And these are simple things that are in the scriptures, but there's lots of good things in our own lives, right, that we could begin to substitute for that. We could substitute work, or too much work, or not enough work, right? There's all kinds of things I could throw in there. And so here's the challenge for you and I. Let's live as a people in right relationship with God. Let's fast when we feel God calling us to fast. Let's make sure we take Sabbath as a way of rest and thanking God. And yet at the same time, don't miss opportunities to model love in the middle of these practices. And so here's my invitation for you and I. Let's enter into deeper relationship with Jesus. And what we'll find is our lives are better for it. And so we hope that you'll be a participant in that kind of life. We'll catch you next time for another First Five.